All right, so today we're diving into generative AI and specifically its impact on businesses. We hear so much about AI these days, it's almost impossible to avoid. But we're going to try to get beyond the hype and really understand what it means for how we work. And for that, we've got some great conversations with people who are really thinking deeply about this stuff.
Well, I think it's fair to say there's a lot of excitement around AI, especially generative AI. But there's also a lot of confusion, you know? Businesses want to jump on the bandwagon, but it's not always clear how to actually use it strategically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard it compared to imagine this new fruit tree just appears one day, right?
Yeah.
It's full of juicy possibilities, but not everyone knows how to cultivate it properly.
I like that analogy. But it makes you think maybe the real value isn't even the fruit itself. It's the shade the tree provides, or the ecosystem it supports, the way it enriches the whole environment.
So you're saying the true ROI of AI, it's not always obvious right away. It's not just about those quick wins, but also those less tangible benefits that might take time to unfold.
Exactly. We're talking about things like a shift in company culture, a boost in creativity and engagement. These are things that are hard to measure with traditional metrics, but they can make a huge difference to a company's success.
But how do you convince stakeholders who are, fixated on numbers and spreadsheets? How do you convince them to invest in something when the full potential might not be obvious right away? How do you even measure something like a more creative workforce?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And honestly, something a lot of companies are struggling with. It does require a bit of a leap of faith, a willingness to see beyond the immediate bottom line. But there is data out there. Some studies have shown that companies with more engaged employees tend to be more profitable and innovative.
So there is evidence that a more engaged workforce can lead to better business outcomes. But even if you can convince stakeholders, there's still this learning curve, right? Not everyone's comfortable jumping headfirst into the world of AI.
Oh, absolutely. One speaker we looked at said it's like being handed the keys to a super sophisticated car, but without any driving lessons. Kind of intimidating, right?
Yeah, you don't want to crash this expensive car. But I guess the point is, we're not talking about self-driving cars here. We're talking about AI that requires a certain level of understanding to operate.
Right. It's a tool, not a magic wand. Like any tool, it takes time and practice to master. We need to get over this fear of making mistakes and create a culture of learning and experimentation.
It's like that Swiss Army knife analogy. Everyone's got one, but most people only use the basic blade, never explore all those other cool tools tucked away inside.
Exactly. And that's what we see with AI. Companies using it for basic tasks, but not really tapping into its full potential.
So how do we encourage people to dig in and discover those hidden features, those aha moments where they realize, wow, I can actually use this for that?
It's about creating a culture that encourages exploration and doesn't punish mistakes. You gotta reward those who find creative ways to use these tools and share those successes with others.
And that's where leadership comes in, right? It's not enough to just tell people to embrace AI. Leaders need to be actively involved themselves.
Absolutely. If you want people to be excited about using a Swiss Army knife, show them how you're using it to solve all sorts of interesting problems. Don't just tell them it's cool, show them how cool it can be.
Lead by example, right? Show people that AI is a practical tool, not just some abstract concept.
And that's especially important when you consider this whole idea of the productivity paradox.
The productivity paradox, what's that?
Well, it's this ironic situation where AI is supposed to free up our time, but learning to use it effectively actually requires an investment of time up front.
So we need to invest time to save time, which feels counterintuitive in our always-on, hyper-productive world. But if we don't make that initial investment, we're essentially stuck with that basic blade on our Swiss Army knife, never going to experience the full potential of the tool.
Exactly. It's a tough sell. That's why it's so important to have leaders who understand this paradox and are willing to create space for that necessary learning and exploration.
So how do companies actually do that? Create that space for exploration without sacrificing productivity in the short term? What are some practical strategies that leaders can implement?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that exploring AI, it's not just some optional side project. It needs to be woven into the fabric of the company, how it operates.
So you're saying it's not enough to just have a training session here or there. It's about really integrating AI into the workflow, the culture, the mindset of the company.
Exactly. One approach is to create what some companies call AI labs or innovation teams. Give people the time and resources to just experiment with different tools and applications, like a sandbox where they can play around, test things out, without the pressure of immediate results.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about companies that don't have the resources for a dedicated AI team? What are some more practical ways to encourage this kind of exploration?
Well, even small changes can make a big difference. Encourage employees to set aside even just 30 minutes each week to explore a new AI tool or experiment with an existing one. Host internal workshops or lunch and learns where people can share their discoveries.
Oh, I like that. It's about creating those little pockets of time for experimentation and learning, rather than expecting people to find the time on their own. And it doesn't have to be this big formal thing. It could be as simple as saying, hey team, let's all spend 15 minutes today playing around with this new AI image generator and see what we come up with.
Exactly. Make it fun and engaging, not just another task on their to-do list. And remember, this experimentation shouldn't just be limited to technical teams. AI has the potential to impact every department, from marketing and sales to HR and finance.
Right. It's not just about the coders or data scientists, but how do we get people who might be intimidated by AI or who don't see the relevance to their work? How do we get them on board?
Communication is key. Leaders need to clearly articulate the company's vision for AI and how it aligns with their goals. Explain how AI can help individuals be more effective, free up their time, maybe even open up new career opportunities.
It's about painting that picture of how AI can benefit them personally, not just the company as a whole. But let's be realistic. There are going to be some bumps in the road, right? Not every experiment is going to be a success.
Yeah.
How do we create a culture where people aren't afraid to fail?
That's where it's crucial to shift the mindset around failure. Instead of viewing it as a negative, frame it as an opportunity for learning and growth. Encourage people to share their failures as much as their successes.
I like that. Normalizing failure as part of the process, not something to be ashamed of. Hey, we tried this crazy thing with AI and it didn't work, but here's what we learned, and here's how we can do better next time.
Exactly. And this goes back to leadership. Leaders need to model this behavior themselves. Don't be afraid to talk about your own AI experiments, both the successes and the failures.
It's like saying, look, I'm not afraid to try new things, even if it means I might mess up sometimes. And you shouldn't be either. It creates that psychological safety for innovation and risk-taking. But how do we go beyond just experimentation? How do we actually ensure that those AI experiments are leading to tangible results?
Well, one approach is to start with small, well-defined projects. Projects that have a clear connection to business outcomes. For example, instead of trying to revolutionize the entire marketing department with AI, focus on a specific task like automating social media posting or personalizing email campaigns. This way you can demonstrate the value of AI in a more concrete and measurable way.
It's about having those quick wins that can build momentum and demonstrate the ROI of AI in a way that stakeholders can understand. And once you have those early successes, you can start to scale up and tackle more complex projects.
Exactly. It's also important to establish clear metrics for success from the outset. What are you actually trying to achieve with this AI application? Is it increased efficiency, improved accuracy, higher customer satisfaction? By having those metrics in place, you can track progress and demonstrate the impact of your efforts.
It's about moving beyond those vague notions of like boosting creativity or improving engagement. It's about being able to say, hey, by using AI for this specific task, we were able to save X amount of time, increase revenue by Y%,
Yeah.
or achieve Z level of customer satisfaction.
And that data becomes crucial for building a business case for further AI adoption. It provides that evidence that stakeholders need to justify continued investment.
But it's not just about the numbers, right? There's also this human element we need to consider. How do we ensure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly? How do we avoid those unintended consequences that can sometimes arise when we introduce new technologies? That's a huge point and something we definitely can't ignore. We've talked about the potential of AI, the challenges, the strategies, but it all comes back to using this technology responsibly. I mean, we're talking about tools that can write like a human,
Yeah.
create images, even code. That's a lot of power. And we have to think about the implications.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding the negative. It's about using AI to make things better, a better future, a more equitable world, a more sustainable world. And we have to be careful about bias in the data. Make sure AI is helping humans, not replacing them.
Yeah, the job displacement question.
Yeah.
That's a big one. A lot of anxiety around that. But it seems like the more realistic scenario is that AI changes the type of work we do, not that it eliminates work altogether.
Exactly. Think about the car. It Didn't get rid of transportation, it transformed it. AI will probably be similar. Some tasks will be automated. But that frees up humans to focus on other things.
So it's not humans versus machines. It's more like humans and machines working together, each using their own strengths. But we probably need to think about how we train people, help them adapt to this new way of working.
That's where education comes in. We need to teach people about AI, how to work with it, even how to shape its development. And it's not just about the technical stuff. It's critical thinking, creativity, adaptability.
So those soft skills,
Yeah.
those human qualities, maybe they become even more important in the age of AI. Being able to think critically about the information we're getting, to know what's real and what's not, to ask the right questions, to use AI as a partner.
Exactly. It's not enough to just know how to use the tools. We have to use them wisely, ethically, really understand what they can and can't do.
This has been a fascinating conversation, and I think it shows that AI isn't just a technology, it's a societal shift. How we work, how we learn, how we interact, even how we define progress.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? We're at the beginning of something new, and we have a chance to shape it, make it something that benefits everyone.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into generative AI, the question I want to leave you with is this. What role do you want to play in all of this? How will you embrace AI while also making sure it's developed and used responsibly?
It's a journey we're all on, and the choices we make now will determine where we end up.
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into generative AI. We hope this is giving you some valuable insights, and maybe even more importantly, a renewed sense of curiosity and possibility. As we navigate this new landscape together as